You're listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marci Persky. In this installment, the wrong cat at the rescue center ends up with exactly the right name. Also, what did happen to that guy in your old address book? And how come, even though we change everybody's names, we still get in trouble? Okay, so you're back from your vacation, and the cat world has virtually exploded.
Yes. I told you I pulled all the cats. And so from our adoption center because of COVID.
Yes, you shut down the adoption center, right.
And so I supervised the reopening of the adoption center via phone while I was in Denver. And it was a little bit of chaos. So somehow... So out of the sanctuary was a cat named Amber Blossom. And
clearly you did not name this cat.
Oh, hell no. So Amber Blossom needed to go back to the adoption center. So a veteran employee, was asked to bring in Amber Blossom. Well, she put the cat in the little cat condo at PetSmart. Nobody notices anything. It turns out Amber Blossom, who's a sweet little spayed female, was replaced with this giant friggin' male with the biggest balls you've ever seen in your life. He was 100% not neutered, which is against every rule in our book.
Yeah, you lose your nonprofit status too if you put a cat out there without removing.
He wasn't going to go anywhere because it was pretty obvious to all of us. He didn't have a name. And I've named him now. His name is Angus Young.
Oh,
and
my
do you
Lord.
know why?
Yeah, I seem to remember AC/DC sometime back in the 1980s with one of the rudest titled songs of the decade, possibly. Big Balls.
Right. And so the cat's name is Angus Young.
We have a different sort of removal problem going on in the studio. I want you to see if you can identify this sound. That is the sound of me flipping through a very large handful of Rolodex cards.
Yeah. Did you finally replace your Rolodex?
I did finally replace my Rolodex. And can I say, there are not a lot of things more depressing than going through a Rolodex that's been a Rolodex for decades. There are so many people. It is depressing to see how many of these people have retired, and a lot of them are just have shuffled off this mortal coil. There was a guy in Oakland. This guy had been representing landlords in front of the city council. He knew everybody. He knew every law. He knew every sneaky way around every law. This guy was the secret weapon of every homeowner in Oakland. Forget your city council person. This guy knew everybody. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'll call Alan and he'll tell me what to do. And he would have some super duper magic formula, or he could call somebody in City Hall, which is the way I like my government to run.
Exactly.
And then he would charge me and I would pay him. And that's the way the world works. But now he's gone. I was like looking at his card thing. I haven't needed Alan for a while. Wonder what he's up to. And I located him right away on Find a Grave. So I knew I wasn't going to be getting any more Christmas cards from him. There's got to be somebody. There's got to be a wheel greaser.
Google. Or maybe it's more like Reddit.
Reddit is for the tinfoil hat people. Like,
not all places in Reddit.
That's what I think's in Reddit. But I will say that in San Francisco for many years, there was an enshrined system of graft and payola.
Was it based on the Richard M. Daley...
I was shocked in Chicago when they would turn down your application to, build an addition on your house. The question you asked was, well, who likes cigars? Who do I need to know and what do I have to pay to get this taken care of? But in San Francisco, I had no idea when my permit got turned down to redo our house. And I thought, well, it's not Chicago, so I don't know what to do. I'll just keep filling out these forms and spend 2 hours a day calling this extension at City Hall that never answers because I don't have any other system for this. But I found out that there is this class of people. It's a formal class of wheel greasers, of payola takers, They're called expediters. In my ignorance, I was delayed a year, but I think I saved myself several $1,000s. First from ignorance, and second from orneriness.
Maybe you should like start to study up and become an
I
expediter.
can't think of anything worse. I cannot think of anything worse than to have to make my living dealing with bureaucrats at anybody's city hall. I just cannot. I appreciate the work that they
I hear ya.
do. Like that guy in that office who gave you Marci Persky Road. You want to talk to him all day?
Actually, that's still going on. It's the it's the never-ending story.
Of Marci Persky Road.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, state of Arizona.
And then here's the thing: there are several people who have moved up in the world whose cell phone numbers I still have, but I don't know if they were still their cell phone numbers.
So
So,
did you order pizzas to their houses?
thanks to a reverse number lookup site, I have determined that some of them still do have the same cell phone numbers. So,
Order pizzas to their houses.
I am
Woo!
not ordering
They'll never
pizzas.
suspect you.
I like them, or at least I can use them. I keep them just in case I ever need them, like the magic beans for Jack and the Beanstalk. And I haven't
I have
needed
those
them
too.
for decades, but you never know,
I have the same thing going on. Actually, I have a Rolodex from 1982, and I just can't throw it away.
People did not have cell phones then, so those numbers, unless they've lived in the same place
Yes,
since
those were
1982,
landlines.
are gone. It makes me feel more powerful, though, to have these numbers in my Rolodex, even if I never ever use them. It makes
Because you can order pizzas to people's
Oh,
houses.
stop it
Where
with-
does the power?
You're just jealous.
Where does
'cause
the power come in?
you live in the middle of nowhere.
I do, and we don't have pizza
And you
delivery.
don't, so that's you're fixated on pizza delivery because you live in the middle of nowhere and you couldn't get a pizza delivered to your door for $1,000,000.
Nope. But
No.
there are deer standing right outside my window.
Well, I've got news for you. You can live in a lot of major cities and have deer standing right outside your window. I can walk down the street to the cemetery at the corner and say hi to about a dozen deer, and I can get a pizza delivered. So there, and your little dog too.
That reminds me.
Yes,
So the day that you come to visit,
yes.
the day that you get here, it's the beginning of coyote rutting season.
I'm not
like-
making the noise. I'm not making the noise.
But you'll hear the noise.
We do have coyote in
gonna
this
be
neighborhood
loud.
too. We have coyote in this neighborhood. Ha ha. There was one in the
Yeah, I
middle of
know
our
you do.
street one day. Yeah, because there's lots of vermin for them to feast upon.
Well, out here, it's crazy. They are big, 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 giant, like gangs of coyotes.
How about
We call them
wolves?
gangs.
Any wolves?
You know what? Somebody shot our only wolf.
Oh
And it's a
no.
huge scandal. His name was Anubis. He had a bright red tracking collar around his neck, so he couldn't be, confused with anything else. And
Oh.
yeah, someone shot him.
What kind of jerk?
A bad person. Everybody except the person who did it is pretty up in arms. There's all kinds of rewards being offered. The government is really unhappy. And I mean, the fact that, the wolf had a name and he was always in the news and blah, blah, blah.
Oh dear, oh dear.
But so I have something to show you now.
What?
We went to Denver this weekend and had a lovely
Yes.
time
How-
visiting the girls.
How did you do on the plane?
It was really uncomfortable, but we stayed in a really cool hotel right downtown in Denver where we can walk to places. We kind of took a bar tour every night. And as you know, we don't go out, but we went out. And so this was Jello shot day. And I had a couple Jello shots and then I was drinking something else. I don't remember. I wasn't drunk. But the girls live in a really cool older neighborhood,
Mhm.
like big old houses, but really bad sidewalks
Ah,
where like some of the sidewalks are like climbing stairs. And it was nighttime.
oh
And we've been
no,
visit
not
we've
again.
been this is a good one. So we'd been visiting with the girls and we're walking to our rental car. And all of a sudden, dude, I was sliding down the sidewalk like a slip and slide, face first. I mean, I just it was bad. My poor Chavez, my fancy Chavez water bottle with the Swarovski crystals went flying and lost a bunch of its fake diamonds.
How about your teeth? How are they?
I have all my teeth.
Oh, good.
But remember when you were a little kid and you would fall and skin your knee,
Yeah.
and you could feel it bleeding under your clothes.
Yes, I do
And you're like,
remember
I
that
don't want to
feeling.
look at that.
Yeah.
I could feel something bleeding underneath. Of course, me, who wears like skater jeans and big baggy everything, I had skinny jeans on because I was wearing boots, and skinny jeans with boots,
Yeah.
it's yeah,
Did you put your
fashion, high
knee did
fashion.
you put your knee through your skinny jeans?
No, it
Huh.
did not rip my jeans, which
Huh.
makes no sense at all.
No.
I mean, like it felt like my whole body was just like
Did
smashed.
the Jello shots help at all?
I had to go do more.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
asking.
yes,
Yeah.
the more I did, the better I felt.
It is a drug. It
It was a drug,
has its uses.
and I'm moving slowly still. And we went and saw Meow Wolf,
What's that?
which is the big art installation, and it's like 3 floors of in like massive buildings. It's just really, really, really bizarre. I mean, you feel like you're on drugs when you're not on drugs. And if you went in there on drugs, I think you'd probably come out on a stretcher and have to go to the hospital. But it was really cool. It's just like flashing lights and sounds, and it's all interactive, and you touch everything. And there were people quickly wiping things off that anybody touched. It was crazy.
Well, my bad luck was not as bad as your bad luck, but I had some. No sooner did I slap up the a couple of podcasts ago, the first time I had ever actually mentioned my mother. My mother
Oh, yeah.
called to say, "Hey, I finally found your podcast on the internet." And then I started to remember all the times where I thought, well, nobody listens to my show. And I would say something about somebody on the air. And then I would hear from them. You were talking about me on the air. I know it was me.
That used to happen to me all the time.
And I guess it bespeaks a real lack of confidence on our part that we just assume that absolutely nobody we know would want to hear any more from us than they already do by virtue of the fact that they're our friends. But
I'm trying to
apparently,
be really careful not to name names.
well, I
But I want to
don't.
know what your mother said.
I'm not asking her. But the main point is that you cannot assume that people aren't listening to your podcast. I mean, I know for a fact from the data that lots and lots and lots of people are listening. But what I mean to say is you can't assume that nobody you know is not listening. How many double
I'm
negatives
gonna
did I
have to be.
put in
I'm
there?
gonna have to work on that. Names are changed to protect the
I,
innocent.
I change everybody's name. It's not helping. Unfortunately, my mother knows she's my mother, and nothing I can do about that. How come it is that I've been doing this podcast in one iteration or another for 3 years, and the minute I say anything about my mother, bingo, I have this sneaking suspicion that somebody who's not my mother may have put her up to it.
I second that.
I'm wondering, and that makes me even more paranoid.
I don't think anybody listens that I know.
I remember talking about guys I had dated on the air with no names, and people I hadn't heard from in, a decade would call and say, "That was me. I was that boyfriend." Like, dude, you're not my boyfriend now. Why do you care that you were a terrible date?
I trashed a now dead rock star who I was never a big fan of to begin with. Well, this other rocker whose name I didn't even mention, okay, told a story about him. The next morning, his friggin' wife called me.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And I said, I never said any names. So what makes you think that this was your husband? Must be true.
What had this person done to earn your attention?
Well, this person was supposedly made a big deal about how sober he was and was sitting downstairs in a venue where he was performing, slamming down shots and not
Ah,
shots of water.
ah.
And then somebody put up a sign that said, so and so rock star is downstairs. Yeah, and so the whole bar was full of people. And his wife, I guess she wanted to believe that it was someone else who looked just like him. His stand-in just for bars.
Yeah, I have a drinking stand-in. I have somebody for the stunts and the videos, and I have a stunt drinker double.
I
That's
need one of those.
that's a great idea. No, you don't. You don't want a
I
stunt
need a
drinker,
stunt
Doug.
drinker double.
No, you don't, because you need a stunt fall or double.
Yeah, true.
You do the drinking just fine. It's the falling you don't do
It's
so
the
well.
falling. It's the missing the cracks in the sidewalk.
Oh, come on. You're not. It's not the cracks in the sidewalk that are
Oh,
the
it was a
problem
huge
here.
crack. I put it up on the Instagram so everyone could see how big that step was.
You and I can both trip over a pencil eraser, so just don't
That's
even
true.
start. Sober, perfectly sober, I can trip over a paper clip. I do it all the time. Thanks for listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. If you'd like to do us a great favor, please leave us a good review wherever you hear this podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Turi Ryder's She Said What. And you might also enjoy my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air, which you can find any place you buy your books or on Amazon.